Welcome back to Decision 2019. I'm Eghosa, Igunbor.
And I'm Christian Ogodo. We still have our gentlemen here. So, Eghosa?
Yes, very quickly, let's go to Plateau State, another state in the north central region, where we have, for the APC, we have Simon Lalong, and then, of course, for
that's
the
incumbent governor.
Yes, incumbent, and of course, we have Jeremiah Oseni from the PDP.
That's what you, some people are saying should be
a walkover.
No, a retired horse, not really a walkover.
Because many would say, of course, this is a walkover for the APC, really, particularly when you look at the achievement or perhaps the perceived achievement that the governor has made in the last 4 years.
Well, maybe,
yeah, Prof, yes. I just said Prof should really come in here. You defend to him because of the silver beards.
Not necessarily, not necessarily, but it's the issue in the plateau is like virtually similar to what happened in Benue State. Yes, and we all know that Plateau State has been, has had to go through, sporadic violent, experiences, in the past, few years, and one was thinking that with the realignment of political forces, after the 2015 election, that peace will actually reign. But unfortunately, the status quo, more or less, came back, and for the period in the past 4 years, there have been skirmishes, there have been, violent, encounters, within the state, and I think that to a large extent has also, created problem for the governor, going into this election, but. Probably what is going to save his seat, since I don't know.
You aren't even giving him a chance. No level of achievement, socio-politically, economically, and the rest.
Well, I really don't know much about what is it he has achieved. Let me put it that way, because what has happened largely all over the country in the past 4 years is that there are states that if they had actually had leadership that were quite
people oriented,
that have vision for the states. For instance, this the money that was received by the Paris
Club refund.
Yeah, refund. A lot of them could have actually deployed this to solve certain welfare issues in the state. Even some states got this money, and not up to today anybody can discuss what it has been used for. And a number of states have also, collected this money, and yet they're still paying workers, several months of their salaries. So the issue for me, therefore, is that, especially in respect to Plateau, is that, you have a younger governor who is seeking for a second term, contesting against
an old horse.
An old horse. That's right, old horse. And it's I really don't know.
Former military general.
Yeah,
I
really don't know. This is somebody who was already in Senate. One would have thought that since he had already gotten to that point, he will actually maintain the status or stay there until it is time for him to retire from politics generally. But that has not happened.
What we cannot take away from the APC really is the fact that it's seen as a government that seems to be listening to the yearnings of the people. And then again, when you look at how it has mitigated the conflict in Plateau State.
No, but the way some people have also interpreted it is that there was an attempt by the government to actually take directives from the federal. That is one. And secondly, there is this, what some people in Plateau, in particular, would say is sympathy for Hausa Fulani. And that, given also the nature of the state, both religious an ethnic, then this is something that can actually have, negative repercussion on the attempt by the governor to come back to this. But as I said, again, it has happened.
You can't really pinpoint any achievement basically for the people.
I mean, let me say that one of the things I personally experienced was the state university. Sometimes I think it was 2014. No, 2016. After the governor had come to power, we were invited. The state university was having this convocation. The first one, after almost about 10 years of existence, there was no convocation, and I was invited because then I was the vice chancellor at Sokoto State University, and we went, and the governor said he was the speaker of the House of Assembly when the bill for the setting up of the university was brought to the House, and they approved of it for the state, and it was set up. But because also they had a regime that was I mean it was not really very.
It was part of that regime now when the governor that is in jail now, he was the speaker of the House of Assembly. Yeah, so I still remember how he was hounded at the premises of the Federal High Court, and he took cover and the rest when Governor. What's his name? Who is Darie? Yes, was impeached by 4 or 5 senators during the Obasanjo regime. Yeah.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to say is that he made this statement that it was, I mean, when he was speaker, that the bill for the setting up of the university, but that because of underfunding and lack of focus on the development of the university, it's like Providence also provided him the opportunity to come back and be the
Messiah.
Who will actually allow or make it possible for the university to assume its proper role. It could not even graduate students within these 12 years before the first convocation was held. And he was saying that Providence had also provided him the opportunity to be the visitor to the university that was able to bring this into being. And I think also until very recently also, he was able to pacify and create peaceful condition for the state. But I am saying that given also the kind of competitor he's going, I mean the major competitor he is having at this election, it is very likely that the APC will be returned.
Okay,
well,
I
share Prof's basic analysis. And by the way, in this election, someplace we see a competition between what the great New York Times columnist Friedman called the olive tree and the Lexus. So the Lexus representing what they call progress, material progress, economic development, and then olive tree representing primordial, conventional, traditional sense of dignity or cultural, religious
ways of life. Yeah.
So in this election, it's been the Plateau as well as in Benue, like I said, there are issues around loyalty, around who is capable of defending us in perceived war, whether it's real or it could be symbolic war, a war of supremacy between ethnic groups and geopolitical groups. So in the Plateau, we've seen it's clear. That's a narrative that nobody can push away. That the major Hausa Fulani geopolitical zone and the largely Christian indigene have been in some kind of conflict. And so one of the issues is that his perception of maybe nonchalance, his perception of maybe bias, like I said, and inability to stand up. And don't forget that when Benue was, Autumn came up with the anti-grazing bill, which we may have issues around its constitutionality, economic, social, but hugely popular with the people. Lalong did not go along. In fact, he was very
critical.
Made the mistake of
he said
criticizing
he said
the governor. Absolutely.
That,
so if I attacked the governor, he had to pull back and apologize. So among his people, there's that sense that look, this guy is not.
That is a sellout.
He has not been very representative. On the positive side, you can say, and being in love with being good with the federal government, who is perceived wrongly or rightly by the people as kind of instigating and supporting the Fulani headers, also meant that his loyalty was in question. So if you map that on top of fairly having done well in peacekeeping, at what expense, that would be the question. Is that the expense of justice? So the people would think so. Again, match up with heavyweight. Forget the age of former
J2 Husseini, general.
All of us were kind of surprised with the choice of Husseini, consider his age, consider the fact that this is a general who had attained some notoriety around, doing the military rule for his swashbuckling management of FCT and all that issue. But he has got, it seems like the generals, the wily generals, old war horse, have a way of triumphing. They are coming back. We saw General Obasanjo, kind of herald that. Buhari has refused to be pushed away. So the generals seem to have a way of besting the civilians. The older people are winning. So typical of social cars, the line of the jewel, how the old Baroque ends up marrying the CD against the teacher who is speaking big grammar. We might see a reenactment of the general, defeating
the lion of the jewel.
Exactly. So I think we should write off Husseini's, and it's actually very popular. It's very popular.
It seems like the state may have completely forgotten about the PDP, particularly when you look at the history of the PDP in the state and how much it was perceived as a despotic government. Do you think that the people of Plateau will want to return back to PDP?
Well, you see, the question has always been this. First, people have short memory. Number one. Two, some of the issues that trigger local revolt are around persons. Plateau should be a PDP state. It was actually an error they lost it to because of the former governor's insistence on himself and his brother recycling power. Darie. No, not even Darie. The last governor. Who had over to long?
Jonah Jang, yeah.
Jonah Jang,
a military man too.
Yes, Jonah Jang was, his brother, he sent his cousin, a relative, to the Senate. And then he swapped. He wanted
come back and
be governor where he goes to Senate. And the people said, and this is a way you have too many ethnic groups, even though they are held together by religion and a common enemy. But among themselves, they also want they have their own resentments. So he played that big, and the people drew the carpet off his feet. It wasn't like they rejected PDP and accepted APC. They rejected him and his nominee, his grandson, whoever he wanted to push across. So having done that, they come back to vote to APC, and now they may have dire regret. Are they looking back and saying, is this guy really? See, those people have existential threat.
Yes.
And they are voting most likely in that. But like I said, every analysis here is based on also on the structure of the character of these elections we are going through. The use of state machinery, the use of funding, the partiality of state agencies, and how much would that also distort results. So whereas we are putting pure analysis as to what we think behavior of voters, it's underwritten by a certain assumption on the neutrality and the fairness or lack of it of the electoral process. But what we can say is that this will not be a walkover for either of them. The Husseini has the capacity to upset Simon Lalong, and the APC would depend on how. And by the way, the voting population, the Plateau North has very large numbers as well as against the South. So how all this play together, who has been able to get more voter card, who has rallied the base more,
yes.
And secondly, who also has the ability to bring the people out on that day. How much would candidate be used? Would there be all other issues around the election? will also make contribution. But we're not going to see a big win. We're going to see a close race either way. But if I have to make a prediction, who do I go for? Well, I would say all this together, maybe Hussaini might be able to shrug off Simon Lalong.
Prof, I mean, that is quite telling, you know, putting our own type of politics and those that we really want in leadership position. Age, experience, the young and the rest, marshalling developmental projects for the people. Are we really seeing any of these, really?
You mean when
whether you localize the politics or you want to make it universal within the Nigerian context?
No, I think you see, let us look at even the pattern that emerged during the presidential, election. Yeah. I think for the first time in this country we had newcomers, who actually show youthfulness. They also show knowledge, and they are also prepared to demonstrate change in the realistic sense of the one. That is, these are guys who, I mean, look at somebody like Professor of the PP, is it PP? YPP. Yes, Mogalu. Look at Durotoye, and Hashim, some of them, so Shoto, I've forgotten the yes.
Obadiah Malaifa.
And yes, Obed Malaifa. All these, guys have actually, something going for them. But unfortunately, what I also discovered is that they actually do not have the structure, which is very critical. And that is why, if you want to, look at the pattern, whether locally or nationally, the issue that we have to look at is, what is the launching pad of the candidates? These youthful, guys have ideas. In fact, I was not, I was very happy when, for instance, Professor Wole Soyinka decided to, give his support to Mogalu, as somebody who actually has vision. Yeah, that's right. The third force vision, and is actually capable of, creating change, compared to, what, the likes of Buhari and Atiku will have provided.
But perhaps they're looking at that as a futuristic plan.
Yeah, but again, even if we are looking at it futuristically, I'm still saying that, these chaps will still have to get structures that will enable them to, launch themselves properly into leadership contention in this country. As of now, it's going to be very difficult. So it's going to be very difficult.
What I'll add to Prof's view, I totally agree with Prof that what this election gave us is, kind of insight into the quality that we have. But elections are not beauty pageants, as I say. And I myself, I went to run for governorship under ABGA, and I did all I could. And when the primary was taken away from us and given to a heavy hitter, somebody who perhaps the party consider has the structural resources to, and we left, and people came to me, the young parties, about 10 of them came to me, small parties, and asked me that, look, you have the profile, you have the knowledge, you have the credibility, come and use our party and run. And I declined because, like Prof said, I knew that, look, idealism is good, but you need what they call in the political theory of power, what they call muzzle. You have muzzle, you have message, you have ethics, you have branding. So I may have a good message, and we saw some of the younger aspirants have message. Kislumo Alo, Obadiah Malaifa, Obieze Kwesre, Sowore, and Fela, all kinds of, they had message. But you need muzzle, which is finance, structure, network. And I also have a problem with them. The problem is that there's some level of egoism and, egocentrism that, oh, how can all of you want to be president at the same time without any realistic assessment of, first, some of them like Shawara, with all due respect, have not had any internship.
There are many ways to the top of a tree.
No, hold on.
Some people may start from the trunk. Some may want to start from the branch of the tree. Isn't it, Prof?
No, it doesn't work that way. Let me clarify. Look at somebody like Trump, who had no executive experience, people say. Yeah. But this is somebody who has been a chief executive for too long. Run, and no matter how much we discredit, no matter how much we discredit Trump's business empire and acumen, we can't discount that he has fairly successful business globally. He has run shows. Those are executive management. That you have a credible platform, your one-room cubicle online, does not really give you sufficient, capability. And by the way, take for example Emmanuel Macron, who they give an example, 30-something-year-old boy who became prime minister. Emmanuel Macron has been prepared. If you look at his profile, he has been grandfathered into positions where you see there's something that we're missing. In the US, for example, and elsewhere, from college, people join the parties and become part of a campaign, volunteering, become part of, you see, there's a production line. It must be recruitment. It must be able to be mentored to understand. So the first error of this, our young generation, is two things. One, too much egocentrism. That means it's I. Even among themselves, they couldn't even agree on who should lead. So that tells you they're not even prepared for the negotiation, the will and dealing, and the deference, consensus building around politics and leadership. Two, the realism that no matter how much beautiful your message is, you need to build a structure around it. And now that Buhari has won and Atiku is going to cut, what will these beautiful guys do between now and 2022? Is it 6 months to that time and someone will come and hoist a flag of redemption? What? That is both mischievous, undisciplined, arrogant, and dishonest, because you are not just going to go anywhere. So we need some serious mindedness.
With a fresh party.
So, Okokotie is the most ridiculous. He only comes in 2 days with one slot on channels.
I don't know.
But essentially, the party has no place.
He enjoys himself. Prof, you know what the inference I was going to draw from his submission is saying that like the Ayikwis, Amas, the beautiful ones are not yet born.
They are born, but not nurtured now.
No, I don't know. I just want Prof to answer this. And they're being nurtured. It's like, hey, look, there is nothing to really look at politically to guide them.
I said earlier that, if, when we're talking about the number of political parties we have in this country, I say, yes, we can have it if you have a different pattern of voting, or voting system. That is proportional representation. This kind of parties could do, could very well do at the local level.
Get 1 or 2 seats.
Yes.
Or maybe, and that's another purpose.
Exactly.
Prof, just to interject, very important, like I said, if INEC can regulate the parties and say, okay, you go for regional state elections, some of these parties can have persons in the House of Assemblies who will now perhaps build a party. For example, the AfD of Germany, the Alternative Democratic Party of Germany, had a small, in the last election, it got up to a percentage to now enter into a coalition. So if you had that kind of parliamentary and that kind of process, political system, so some of these guys will, on issue based, gender, like I said, or Green Party or government, and then they get a seat and they expand, and then they can now enter into a coalition with a party.
And you know what is also going to happen, going forward, is that now that they have performed woefully, as far as I'm concerned.
Very woefully.
Yeah, they have performed woefully.
No doubt about that.
It is very likely that they will just, a number of them will make their way.
They will get away.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll really about rounding off this segment, but maybe in one sentence, from you, from Dr. Sam Amadi, it does not look as if we're really ready for what democracy is all about. If both of you agree that why looking at the rooftop when you can start from a foundation? But how would you reconcile it that localized elections that we have only yesterday, you're having so much killings, so much disruptions? Voter apathy.
Well,
very quickly, Prof.
Yeah, I think the answer, I mean, one sense, the answer to that is simply that, you know, we simply have not gotten to the grips of what democratic politics, you know, entails. That is one. Secondly, I think that, you know, it is important, you know, for our kind of a system to actually be nurtured. What we're having is like, you know, I mean, we're just lucky that in the past 20 years, there has not been military takeover or intervention in politics. But we do not have any tradition of democratic politics.
But when you're having, in a democratic situation, and you are having your chief of army staff coming to give directives here and there, what does that presuppose,
well,
Doctor?
What I presuppose that we confirm what the literature says, that if you want to have democracy, before elections, build institutions of accountability. So what we are going to go do forward is from today, we have to subject the use of military, the use of force, the use of anything to clear accountability rules.
And there's rules that really subject them to that.
Accountability is not about rules. Accountability is an institution. It's rules, norm, and enforcement.
And process,
so
yeah.
You don't just say you have rules and nobody. So the responsibility, like I said, let me end by saying that I think that these killings have been aggravated at the instance of misuse of military power. And after this election, we should investigate that.
All right, Sam Amadi, Dr. Sam Amadi, thank you so much for joining us. And Professor Nuhu Yakub, thank you so much for joining us on these particular segments of the program.
All right. Okay, we'll just take another short break. We'll be back again on Decision 2019. Remember to join us again.